Hey guys, we're back with a Plain Explain. This time we are doing 6 tables of 1K and L. I'm eyeing the lobbies. There's like potentially a chance to get in some 1020, maybe some 2550. The current 2550 table looks tough, but maybe we'll hop in there if the table fills. So to start out, I just isolate a limp, which just gonna mix like hands like this are fine. And just like kind of like low cards. I'm just gonna bet really small here, and in theory he's not supposed to fold a bunch. I'm very much versus a small bet on that board, but obviously I believe this is a recreational player. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We are going to be pumping out more and more of this content moving forward. Just Plain Explains, ranging from some 200 zoom all the way up to, we've had some 5K and L Plain Explains. Gonna be a lot of the 500 L and 1K Plain Explains. I'm just gonna like kind of value bet the turn here with Ace King. I can bluff a lot of rivers. I can get him to fold a jack and a 6, but I can get him to call me with like worse draws. On the left, top left, we just defend a small bet on Queen 6-5 with 8-5. I'm not going to be bluffing on bricks, like I'll just show down here. I would bluff for sure with some pairs, but I think I would need a more dynamic river, so like a 7 or an 8. I mean 8 I make 2 pairs, so like 7 or a 4. But we'll just show down the 5. Potentially check raise, but we don't really block much value in this line. I'd actually rather check raise the river if I somehow get here with like ace deuce with the ace of spades, obviously for a bunch of reasons, but yeah. We show down and win the pot. If you're unfamiliar with the channel, basically what started as was initially just like my own channel. If you go way back, you'll see just a bunch of random videos from me playing like lower stakes and teaching my then girlfriend, now wife, how to play poker. Now it's mainly geared towards Plain Explains, made by myself and some of the other coaches that I run a CFP with. So if you have any, if you're playing 50 and L, 100 L, 200 L, whatever. No, if you're playing any stakes, we have students playing everywhere from 50 and L to 1K and L. And if you're, an the average student in our program, moves up at least 2.5 stakes. So that's of interest to you. If you kind of hit that block, I guess, or you're just struggling to move up beyond the stake you're currently at. You kind of feel like you've plateaued. Definitely head over to pokerwithriske.com. You can see what the program's all about. You can see testimonials from students, results from the head coaches, and like a snippet of what our program offers. Definitely, if it sounds interesting, I would encourage you to hit the apply button, and it doesn't take very long. And worst case scenario, you have a chat with one of us, and we can see if you're the right fit for the program. Not an amazing spot with queens, but definitely going to start with a cold 4-bet. Just very, under the gun MP, pretty tight ranges. Queens, I'm gonna stack off, but not a great spot again. We beat jacks and like a hand like king queen suited, but like we block that. So I have to be a little careful here, because he'll have like 10s and 9s and jacks and aces. Then he'll have like ace king. He won't have kings much. All right, turn, I'm going to check. Not much to get protection from now, and not much to get value from. So we kind of actually are hoping he like turns the hand into a bluff, but again, that's kind of difficult. He has to have like ace 10 suited or ace king that float a flop, or has to have like and I guess I'm going to bet fold. We'll say bet react. We block queen jack suited, like both combos, but it's not super relevant. He shouldn't float the flop with like ace jack suited though. It's honestly super thin. Like we're trying to get value by like ace 10. Like a lot of the hands that could hero call us. Okay, he does call us with something. But a lot of the hands he could hero call us with could also just shove. And he had ace 10 suited. So, like I said, like those are kind of the hands we're targeting on that run out. We have no overpair. We'll say top 2 pair, but it's not in those positions specifically. It's not amazing. So to get away with a bet and a call on that line is pretty good. This board we're going to use some big sizes and checks. So start with a big bet. I think these pairs mix. Can't just always bet them. Turns interesting. We want some bluffs, obviously. This hand has equity and unblocks all of his call folds. A lot of his king X should fold flop. So I think we actually have a pretty decent, at least double barrel. Basically, we give ourselves 2 outs to the nuts, unless he has king 10. And like I said, like some of his king X should definitely fold flop versus the bigger size. And yeah, our hand has no showdown in this line, and doesn't really have any bad bluffing properties. Doesn't really have any great bluffing properties either. Like we block ace 3. We block 2 combos of ace 3 suited, which is actually bad. Like I think I want to bluff the 3s that don't have removal. Although if he's defending ace 6 off, he might just defend every ace 6 offsuit in that spot. So this hand's gonna mix 4-bet and call. But yeah, the 3s is interesting on the river. If the king is a pair on the turn, I'm more likely to use that hand as a triple. Okay, I go for a call. This hand again, like you're gonna mix both options versus the 3-bet. I'm just gonna fold. Start with a call with queens. Block 2 combos of king queen suited, which is nice. Queen of diamonds will be relevant on the turn. So now it becomes worse because if he bets this turn, you know, a lot of his bluffing range will be hands like queen jack of diamonds, queen 10 of diamonds, that type of hand. Check is interesting when we have this hand. I think I'm gonna check. And if he checks this river, I'm probably gonna value bet. Like, there's not that many hands I want to check that we lose to. So I think somewhere around half pot makes sense. He'll check call like hand like king 10 suited that we lose to. But I think for the most part we have the best hand there. But yeah, I think the 3s hand is pretty interesting when we start with a big bet on the flop. Because I think our hand's like a decent bluff in even the small bet line for the same kind of reasons. I'm going to defend 4-bet with 8s here. And defend ace 3 suited, flop 2 pair. And start with a small bet in the 3-bet pot with the ace of hearts. I mean, just like a pretty good board for us, and we have equity. My opponent checks back. On this turn, I'm going to be using a pretty like large size. My opponent goes for half pot top left, so we're going to fold 8s. So I think going for mainly like a big size and check is pretty good here. I don't think I necessarily want to overbet. If I overbet, I limit myself for the most part to just a straight maybe a set of deuces. I want to be able to include some of these hands in here. And top middle, we're going to go for a bet. And use a pretty big size on this texture. Basically, like any overpair or even a hand like, you know, a very strong 9 is effectively the nuts. And your opponent doesn't have much. Like, people again look at this wrong a lot of time, where they think the more dynamic the flop is, the more I want to bet large because, you know, I need protection. And but you actually a lot of times will use bigger sizes based just on like how likely your good hands are to remain the nuts on various runouts. And like how little equity your opponent has to fight back against your, you know, top end. So like if they have tons of like open ender or like pair plus straight draws, you know, open ender plus flush draw, if they have all this portion of their range, then your big bets don't do as well, because they can just like, you know, they can either get in a bunch of their high equity hands or they can just defend a bunch of their high equity hands. Whereas the board like 9-7-3, they don't have like, they never have pair plus draw. They obviously have some open enders, but like outside of that, you know, they don't like, it's not like a hand like 10-8 suited wants to get it in against like a big bet, right? Whereas if the board is like 8-5-4 with a flush draw, not only do they have straights, they have two pairs, but they have like, you know, pair plus flush draw, pair plus draw, pair plus gut shot, all this type of stuff. Defending 5-4, and jacks is close here versus the bigger size. I'm gonna fold jacks here, but 4-5 is gonna mix bet and check here when my opponent checks. But you don't just have to stab all of your equity here. And now I'll definitely bet twice if check 2. I don't expect that many checks on this turn, but I'm gonna call. We have a gut shot, and I'm gonna have a bunch of hands. I can even like honestly raise here. I don't think that's the worst. Actually, I think that's better. I'm gonna have a bunch of deuce X in this line. And I also block ace-4 and ace-5, which could very likely play this way. And I'm blocking the missed. Also, I block ace-5 and ace-4, like I said. I think I'm gonna go for a big bet here. Like, I have a lot of deuce X here. Because I'm going to defend a lot of suited deuce X that my opponent doesn't have there. And then I'm going to check back a lot of those on the flop. And then obviously when I turn to deuce, I'm going to raise in position. And then when I get that river, I'm going to bet really big. So I think like my hand like deceptively has some good properties there. Have to be like a little careful with your frequencies because you're going to have like a bunch of hands to choose from. But I'm going to prefer bluffing like 4-5 obviously than any like flush draw that I decide to raise turn with. Because of all the things I state. Like I don't block a missed flush draw, I block hands like ace-5 and ace-4, which are relevant in that line, because if my opponent is developing bets and checks on the flop, then obviously, although he'll like likely randomize all of the ace X that bet and check, the lower the ace, the higher frequency is going to check, because you're not going to check like ace king, but you will check like ace-4 and ace-5. So ace wheel with a flush draw, blind versus blind. Similar reasons. The deuce was kind of good for me in the last example. This board is actually like somewhat good for the big blind. It's not like it's a terrible board for me. It's just he has a lot of very strong continues, and I have some ace X, and then that's about it. Nothing else in my range really wants to bet a ton. So start with a decent amount of checks. I'm gonna check again here. King Jack and showdown second nut no pair. And maybe call a bet, but at least start with a check. Defend 6-3 suited. Yeah, we show down potentially against king high or queen high himself. Yeah, queen high. I'm just stabbing here with some. You want to give yourself some crap in this line. So I have an over to a jack. So I block like queen 10. I have all my low hands to bluff here. So I think this hand, I think on this river is going to give up. Because I just have 5, 6, 4, 5. I have just like tons of worse hands to choose from. So I'm going to give up the hand that blocks, like I said, hands like queen 10, queen 9. It's also like, this is weird. Going for the cold 4-bet with jacks here. Sorry, ace jack. I mean, I just have to fold. Like, I'm actually somewhat tempted to hero call, but like again, he could just be bluffing with like queen 10. Like I think if I had like a missed king eye flush draw, becomes interesting. Missed ace eye flush draw, that bet turn. Like those hands, I could consider calling. Six three is probably going to be a check raise. I mean, it's annoying not having a backdoor, but we want to again mix in some of these hands still. And in a cold 4-bet pot, I'm just going to start with a 10% pot bet, 10% pot bet on this board. And yeah, we're going to go for a check raise here with 6-3. To bet 10% with ace jack. Now turn, we have no equity. Ace jack. I'm just gonna bet again, I think. I think this hand's actually close. I think this suit actually checks. Okay. First this size. It's kind of hard to fold a pair. Like all my outs should be clean, and it's not impossible for him to be bluffing. And we're gonna bet the river. I'm gonna want to value bet some king X in this line, like some pocket kings. So I'm gonna use the 10% here and deal with the repercussions. We 3-bet, bet small, get check raise with ace 10. We fold. My opponent now bets huge. I'm gonna fold. And yeah, my opponent jams here. Like he's very live to have aces, but I will not be folding. Alright, I'm probably going to call it there. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Poker with Risk for all of those. We'll be making more content, like I said, moving forward. So definitely stay tuned to this channel. Alright guys, have a good one. Take it easy.